As the New York Rangers losses keep piling up, they are right now currently on the outside looking in of a playoff spot, not even in a wild card spot right now. And, with the way things have been going, there is really, little to little hope that this team has a chance of going on a long playoff run. And, as the days and weeks and games go along, there is even less and less and less hope of us just making the playoffs. I'm talking about, just getting a wild card spot at this point, not even talking about going on a run here and possibly winning, at least a round. I'm talking about, possibly just making the playoffs here. My hope as a Rangers fan and someone who has been very optimistic about at least making playoffs, not going on the longest run and winning the cup there, just making playoffs. I've been very optimistic about thinking that we definitely, should still be a team to make playoffs. But at this point, after these losses keep coming, my hope and kind of thoughts about us making playoffs just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And that is very disappointing and really just sad to say as a fan of this team who, this past offseason, I was thinking we were possibly going to end up see, one or two kind of pretty big trades, big moves to really upgrade this squad to make us look like a true, kind of top tier, Stanley Cup contender. Obviously, we've gone on, two great playoff runs, two of the last three seasons, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I kind of hoped and thought that this past offseason, we'd see some big moves happen to really kind of help bolster this squad to, kind of fix some of the issues that we definitely know and saw that we do have from that series against the Florida Panthers, who obviously went on to eventually win the whole thing, win the whole Stanley Cup there. So we knew we had some issues. We knew we weren't quite, a complete team and a good enough team to, fully win that Stanley Cup. So I figured we'd see some kind of big moves happen. We did not. The biggest move was adding in Riley Smith via a trade, from the Pittsburgh Penguins there. At this point in his career is a fine, middle six forward, but isn't a whole lot more than that. And we definitely knew that we needed to add in some star kind of guys, definitely at least one, minimum of one, plus some other kind of really good players added in as well, and some gritty and some toughness and physicality added in as well, which we saw, for the most part, really none of that. I mean, sure, we added in Sam Carrick, who is a nice, kind of gritty, tough, defensive, kind of two-way, fourth-line center. That's fine and all, but we didn't add in any kind of, real impactful players other than kind of a guy like Riley Smith, who has been a little underwhelming, you could say, but has done about as much as you could expect out of a guy who is, getting up there in age a bit now, was on the wrong side of 30, and it's obviously kind of on the kind of second half for sure of his career. So in my opinion, there were some big issues that we knew we still had, although we made, two of the last Eastern Conference Finals. We've had the same kind of issues, been pretty much the same team for, both those playoff rounds. Sure, there were some little kind of moves here and there and some different kind of names in, but for the most part, this team was built the exact same way, relying on our goaltender to do most of the work there, continue to get outshot, now work to 5-on-5, but kind of get the job done with our goaltender in net there, making some big grape stops, kind of saving us a bit, and kind of working the special teams there to kind of get the job done in advance to, some long playoff runs and win those rounds, which is exactly what we did. So this offseason, kind of hoping that we could, see some big moves happen and kind of fix some of those issues. Not seeing that happen has clearly been a big issue for this team. Now, we did get off to a decent start at the very, very beginning of this season, but as things went along, we hit that kind of slump there, and things have just not turned around since. This team has looked absolutely terrible, and, it's been a long, long while now. I figured this would be a slump where, it happened for a week or two, 3 weeks tops, something like that there, a little kind of 5 to 8 game stretch there of poor play. Okay, then we turn things around. Unfortunately, it has not been that at all. It has been game after game, week after week. It's starting to become, month after month at this point of this just awful, ridiculously terrible play and just kind of lifeless play and no energy and no kind of, just feel to kind of, be desperate enough to win the game and stuff like that. There's just been so many, terrible and disappointing things about this team, and it just keeps piling on and on and on. And, right now, as a Rangers fan, I really am, unfortunately, starting to lose hope about us making playoffs. Now, are we completely out of it at this point? No. But are we definitely starting to fall back from further and further and further? Absolutely. At one point, we were right up there at the top of, pretty much the entire NHL. right? And then we obviously took a bit of a step back and have just continued to fall back further and further. And now, we're quite a few points out of the kind of one of the top 3 spots in the Metropolitan Division to get, one of those kind of 3 spots in the Metro. And we're also, slowly starting to fall further and further and further. And as things continue like this, we're going to fall further and further and further away from wildcard spots as well, which, in my opinion, is just an awful thing to be talking about right now. But unfortunately, that's what I have to do because this is the spot that this team is in currently. We're outside of the wildcard spot. We're not even a wildcard spot, which is just very disappointing and frustrating to say as a fan. Like I said, I had some high expectations, for this team. Now, obviously, we did not see the big moves happen, so that kind of hindered my expectations a little bit. But you still expect this team to be about as good as they were last season. I'm not saying, to win the President's Trophy again, but I'm saying to be one of the clear kind of top 3, at least kind of top 3 minimum in the Metropolitan Division. There'd be one of those top 3 teams there. That was kind of the bare minimum for this team, in my opinion. Obviously, we have not hit that, and, it's just really, really disappointing to talk about. And this whole situation with this team right now, things are just not looking good. And, long-term wise with some of our prospects and stuff like that, I do think we have some nice kind of players to look forward to watching in the future. But for the rest of this season, I think things are just going to be really bad and just kind of not a whole lot of fun to watch. And I mean, I'm still going to watch these games. I'm still going to talk about it. I'm still going to make daily videos, but it may not be as fun as it would if we were winning games, being one of the top teams in the entire NHL, being a true kind of potentially Stanley Cup contender where we're at right now is we're hoping, praying pretty much that we can make playoffs. And obviously there is definitely not a 100% chance of that happening. Whereas to begin this season, I pretty much would have guaranteed it that we'd make playoffs and be in the top 3 in the Metro. Obviously, some other circumstances that come into effect there, some big ones, and, we're nowhere near as good as I kind of thought and hoped would be at this point, from this past offseason looking in. We're obviously quite a ways back where I thought we'd be, and I'm sure for most Rangers fans as well. And, like I said, I know we don't have a perfect team here, and I don't love the way this team is built, but let's be honest here, we should not be this bad of a team. There are obviously some big issues going on right now behind the scenes, and I'm sure some of those things have played into effect there. And, I do think at this point, we need to see some kind of shakeup there, and maybe it is, going to be firing head coach Peter Laviolette. I don't know how much more we can truly see this kind of terrible, disastrous kind of, lack of just kind of want and energy out there on the ice. I don't know how much longer we can kind of see this terrible play happen before, one of those really big kind of coaching changes does happen. So we'll have to wait and see, even if a guy like Peter Laviolette does get fired, I'm not quite sure that's going to fix everything, and we're instantly going to turn things around and become a, Stanley Cup contender once again and a true kind of, playoff team and all that kind of stuff there. I'm not quite sure that's going to happen. So, and whether that move does happen or doesn't, I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have. Now, maybe it does. Maybe we fire Laviolette in a week or two and things completely turn around and we go on a nice run and, we're like 20 and 4-1 in our next 25 games or something like that. We go on an absolute heater. Maybe that does happen, but also maybe it doesn't, and maybe we just kind of stay in the exact same spot and we fire Laviolette just to kind of, throw some blame on him, but then things kind of stay the same there and things just look worse and worse because nothing changed and we still made that massive move. So there are a lot of question marks with this team right now, a lot of different moves they could make, but one of them definitely needs to be adding in a superstar/star level guy. Now, at this point in the season, I'm not quite sure we need to or really should be going after a kind of star mid-season now, especially if it is only a rental. Now, I want to see a star/superstar kind of guy added in, absolutely. But what I'm trying to say here is with the kind of spot we're in right now, with the way this team has been playing, especially going after a rental, I think would be a big, big mistake and a waste of assets. Now, if it's someone with quite a bit of term on him, I would not be against, making that trade mid-season, but if it is someone who is a rental, has, just the rest of this season under contract, I would much rather just kind of not see that move happen unless we were 100% sure of being able to re-sign that person or extending them. So, in my opinion, at this point here, you almost just kind of sit flat, don't make any moves, I think, in my opinion, and just kind of wait things out and see how things go, because I don't think it's the right move right now to go out there and trade away some of our future assets, whether it is, prospects and or picks, to go out there and try and make some win now moves for this season specifically, because, the spot we're in right now and with how bad we've been playing, I don't think we have a real shot at going on a super long playoff run and making, another Eastern Conference Finals or trying to truly compete for that cup and to make the finals. So I don't think going out there and spending future assets on, guys with 1 or 2 years left on their deal is the right move as of right now. But if it is, going after some younger pieces possibly, or trying to make kind of a player for player trade, that is something that I'm okay with. But if it is, throwing in our second round pick or a future second, whatever it is, and a prospect to go out there and get kind of a rental win now, second pairing defenseman, I'm not for that at all, because I think that would be a bit of a waste of some assets. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. At this point, though, I think you kind of wait it out, see how things go, and then a week or two before the deadline happens, you got to make your decision there. Are you going to be sellers or are you going to be buyers? Because I don't think there should be an in-between for this team. I think we have some pieces that definitely could be moved and could get us back some, decent assets, whether it is prospects and or picks. So I think you either sell or you buy. You have to pick one of them. You don't sit in the middle there and just kind of do nothing. You sell guys like Ryan Lindgren, possibly Keandre Miller, Riley Smith there, maybe Jimmy Vesey, those kind of guys that could net you back some decent assets, or you end up buying if we are in a spot to buy and, things start to kind of get turned around. So there are some question marks and impacts and kind of things that will kind of be variables on what will happen come deadline time. But I do think that this team needs to either buy or sell. Don't just sit there and do nothing, because I do think that would be pretty much the worst thing that this team could choose to do. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, definitely hit that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. If you are a New York Rangers fan, although we're going through some tough times right now, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. I will be posting here every single day, no matter what, whether we're first place, last place, right middle of the pack, wherever we are in the standings, it does not matter. I will post every single day. So, if you're a Rangers fan, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. It helps with the channel a ton. I would really appreciate it. And I do apologize if it went off on too much of a rant and went off topic, at certain points, but I really just kind of wanted to make a video here, really kind of talking about the spot that this team is in and kind of, what we can kind of hope for and possibly see, going forward for the rest of this season, because we're in a bad spot. It's not a nice spot, but there are some possible, good things that could come from the rest of this season, and also, some bad things as well. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Either way, though, thank you all so much for watching. Comment down below your thoughts. I'll catch you in the next one, and let's go Rangers. Hopefully, they turn it around very, very soon.